Hello, this is OC Skywatch. It is the 28th of December 2015 around 12:30 a.m. and I'm just going to give you an update on what has been going on here for the past few days. We did actually have some high winds the day after Christmas. That's the primary reason why I'm making this video. Okay, this is December 23rd going into the 24th, 2030 to 0 Zulu, and what we have over the Pacific is, well, there's a low pressure that's about to go into the northwest. There's also an interesting area over here, but don't think it's going to do too much. Down to the south, we have abnormal areas of dry air, both right here and right here. And in between, there's a low pressure that's trying to develop. But as you can see right here, there's a bit of a clockwise flow and some aerosols in there. Let's go look at these systems. Right here is just the low going into the northwest. See a bit of clockwise rotation and a lot of aerosols to the east. That's just very strange looking. This thing wants to be a low pressure, but yet look what it's doing. It's going clockwise and clouds are bubbling up. That's very strange. There's a lot of strange stuff that happens today, so it's not a surprise seeing this. What we have to the west is we have the jet stream and this thing wanting to turn into a low pressure, but there is an abnormal amount of dry air in this area, and that's no good. Over here we have another low trying to form up, but it's not going to bring any sort of weather to us. To the south we have dry air here and dry air over here expanding. A little waviness near this island, of course, but the wind could be coming from that direction. Let's focus on this low pressure right here. They've been beating at this thing for several days now. This thing just is very persistent. They have to keep on this thing, otherwise this thing would turn into a massive hurricane. There is some clockwise rotation on the northeast side of this thing, and out on the west side there's pretty much nothing. It's just being dominated with a bunch of dry air. More clockwise up here. Some aerosols, chemtrails being laid way up here near this flow. Up to the north, there's a jet stream flow that's going right into California. Unfortunately, though, not much weather with it because aerosols. What these aerosols do, they dry out the moisture, create that capping inversion, so nothing of significance is allowed to form. They wouldn't want a whole lot of precipitation going into California now, would they? No, not this month. Next month, though, perhaps they'll let more in. Otherwise, people are going to be asking questions. Where's all the rainfall? I'm telling you, though, the heavy rainfall should have started back in November, but yet it just wasn't there. Okay, this is the visible satellite. Right off the coast of British Columbia, we have the same clockwise rotation. These things trying to go and bubble up. Yeah, this low pressure is definitely being suppressed, which is not a shocker. They don't want a whole lot of weather impacting the entire west coast. It's all part of the drought plan. And of course, over British Columbia, there's a lot of heavy aerosols. Let's go slow that down. Yeah, you see that. Disgusting. Off to the west a bit, there's a very unusual amount of opening. It's definitely man-made high pressure. This is where the tongue of dry air was showing up in the water vapor. Very interesting little feature right here. Very uniform. Okay, let's slow this down. You even see a bit of aerosols nearby. That's going to help the ionospheric heaters, I believe. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, down to the south, what we have is not a whole lot of activity, just this low pressure trying to go and develop. But unfortunately, though, it's being heavily suppressed. This thing's trying to rotate completely counterclockwise, but yet what we're seeing is a bit of clockwise activity in certain areas, which is kind of interesting. Again, on the west side, there's not much here, which is very strange. Ugh, just looking at these little things make my skin crawl. Yeah, that's a lot of aerosol spray. There might be some spray in this area that's not showing up because you know how these people running the satellites like to make my job a bit more difficult. Okay, right here there's nothing new, just a bunch of disintegrating clouds and stuff going clockwise. There might actually be a few little rings here. Interesting. And in this jet stream flow that's going into California, see a lot of aerosols being laying in here, which is a real shame. A lot of the state's still in extreme drought. Gee, I wonder why. It's because of these terrorists that are messing with our weather. It's very mysterious how all this weather just stops all of a sudden. Definitely man-made high pressure. Again, you see these funny features. Those could be little concentric things from the ionospheric heaters being used to create this high pressure. Okay, this is water vapor for December 24th, 8:30 to 12 Zulu. There's this low pressure that's off the northwest coast. There's still some clockwise activity up in this general area. Things being suppressed pretty heavily. This thing's actually going to come down. Unfortunately, though, there's not going to be much rain with it for the southern part of the state. Anyways, low pressure's trying to take shape here. But unfortunately, though, there's still quite a bit of dry air around. Don't see it doing too much. There's a nice low pressure up in the Bering Sea, but seems like there's a bit of aerosols being laid up into this system, so I think it's going to diminish pretty rapidly. Even see some drying near the core. Yeah, this thing's going to be dead pretty soon. Out in this jet stream flow, a lot of aerosols are being laid. This thing could have been a major rainmaker, but instead it's just being sprayed into. See all this wispy stuff appearing? This is what they typically do when there's a potential for some rainfall. They just spray it away. And down to the south, dry air is still around. There's a low pressure system that's still trying to develop, but it's obviously being suppressed. There's not a whole lot of activity. Again, on the west side, there's dry air being pressed down here. I even see clouds disappearing like right at this point, and a bit of clockwise rotation. See some aerosols up towards the northeast. Oh, there's even a little line right here appearing. Anyways, though, this thing's being heavily suppressed. Towards the center, it's leaning more towards clockwise than counterclockwise, which is very strange. And even see a little boundary right here appearing, and it's going out in this direction. It's faint, but it's there. See a little bit of drying here. Yeah, that definitely could be something. Okay, this is December 24th going into the 25th. 22 to 1:30 Zulu. There's a lot of drying as this front starts heading towards the south into the Southern California area. It always happens around this area. They start pressing a lot of dry air around. Again, I believe that's to keep the precipitation potential at bay. And the aerosols are helping with that as well. This thing could have brought a lot of rainfall, but yet it's not. And now we have another area that could have brought us some potential rainfall, so they're just drying that area out. Again, I believe this is a deliberate droughting of our area. This low pressure up to the north looks a little bit strange. It was heading down, but clouds disappearing and a little bit of clockwise rotation. Yeah, it's just not looking nearly as healthy as it was before. Not to say that it was healthy to begin with, but it's just looking worse now. Disorganized. This thing right here is going to, in a few days, as in relative to this time, low pressure system's gonna form out of this whole thing and bring a ton of severe weather to the Texas area, which, by the way, quite a few people were killed. I feel sorry for them. This is not normal weather. This whole thing was manufactured. Anyways, the system up in the Bering Sea is pretty much falling apart, and over here is not looking too much better. I'm telling you, this thing, if they weren't screwing with it, this thing could have been a huge, massive hurricane-like, but instead we're just seeing a giant mess. It's very unfortunate. Okay, down to the south. This low pressure's still trying to live on, but it's going to be dead within a few days. Of course, they're aerosolizing this moisture. It's going to create that huge storm. What these aerosols do is they migrate the moisture. The moisture eventually has to come down. So, yeah, that's going to help contribute to the tornado mess. Okay, this is visible satellite. Let's mainly focus on California now. There's a lot of clouds over the state, but unfortunately though, as they head into Southern California, a lot of them are disappearing. That's no good. And of course, down to the south we have more aerosols. Okay, down to the south, this thing's trying to curl up, but there's a lot of aerosols and disappearing clouds. Of course, this thing's a whole mess. See a little clockwise activity here, and yeah, all throughout this thing is horrible. Okay. There's quite a bit of opening over here still, which is to be expected. They want to block all this weather coming in. There's still counterclockwise activity right in this area. Over here you definitely see interesting stuff. It's like these clouds are lower than stuff around it. Okay. This is December 25th, 2 to 5:30 Zulu. The dry air down to the south is deepening. No precipitation fell in my area at all. And this low pressure thing has pretty much been demolished. It's very, very confused. The Sierras are getting some snow, but unfortunately though there's a bit of drying towards the valley and the precipitation is going to end soon. That's no good. A lot of aerosols still being laid into this flow that's gonna help create that storm. This low pressure down here, still trying, but there's still some intervention, as you can see. There was a center, pretty solid center starting to form, but it just blows apart and becomes dry. Okay, this is December 25th going into the 26th. 21:30 to 1 Zulu. There's quite a bit of drying still occurring down here in this area. They're moving in high pressure, and that in turn is going to help fuel the wind event. There's some clouds trying to form up here and produce rainfall, but they're going to be diminishing very soon. Even seems like they're starting to diminish now. Yeah, they're definitely getting this thing ready. And you can see to the east there's this low pressure developing, and what happens when you get low pressure next to high pressure, you're going to get a lot of wind. We had gusts in my area around 60 miles per hour. I'm surprised the power didn't go out. Anyways, the whole operation is pretty much set up now. We're going to focus on keeping the high pressure around. There's this mega low pressure that's trying to develop in the Alaska region, but it's obviously being suppressed. There's a lot of aerosols being laid into this thing. That's going to keep it at bay. They don't want a massive hurricane type thing forming and bringing some sort of weather to the west coast. Down to the south, there's still the dry air in this area around Hawaii. And all this moisture is actually being rerouted up into the Texas region. And this low pressure is going to bring a lot of nasty weather. And this low pressure down to the south is, this thing's still trying to wrap around, but these clouds here are disappearing as they head more towards the west. See, it's trying to curl up, but it's just being blocked. That's very, very strange. And you see this area is getting a bit drier towards the west. Of course, yeah, that's a dead giveaway of something weird going on. Okay, this is visible, same time. Yeah, here's just a quick view of California. There's some weather trying to come into the area, but a lot of the moisture is being cut off as it heads into Southern California, which is no surprise. Hey, these little cells right here are starting to turn a little bit towards clockwise. Very interesting. That's an indication of high pressure. And down here, this low pressure is trying to form, but clockwise rotation. These clouds are being pretty much destroyed as they try to wrap around. And right towards the core of this thing, there's a lot of opening. And up here, this thing's trying to turn into a huge, massive low pressure system, but it's not gonna do too much, not gonna bring us any sort of precipitation. And over here, this line seems pretty straight. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. See kind of an arch around here. That doesn't look too normal to me. We definitely have some sort of stuff going on along this. Okay, this is water vapor, December 26th, 4:30 to 8 Zulu over California. These clouds are disappearing very rapidly. The wind is going to be kicking up very shortly, within a couple of hours. Around 10:30 in the morning is where it is strongest, and that was December 26th. That's Pacific time. And you see this thing turning into a big low pressure that's going to give the nasty weather. Over New Mexico and Arizona, there's a bit of a line here. Bunch of interesting activity. I think that's going to help drive the winds in as well. There's just a bunch of strange activity taking place here at this time. This is long wave for the same time. Again, over California, these clouds are disappearing in more of a clockwise manner. Just look at that. And over here, we have that same line over New Mexico and Arizona. And some funny stuff happening up here. Yeah, that's going to help drive in the strong wind. Going to go right into here. It's the pressure gradients that cause the wind. Not a whole lot has changed in the system here. This thing is being suppressed from many angles. Okay, let's go and look at the barometric pressure right now. Okay, this is for Rosamond, California. This is in the desert areas. That's primarily where clouds were disappearing. Okay, what we have here is the pressure rises from December 25th, 0 Zulu, and peaks December 25th, 16 or 17 Zulu, then it goes down and bottoms out around December 25th, 22 Zulu, and then it goes right up within a couple of hours, a few millibars, which is quite big. This is around 1017 millibars, 1016, and it goes up by at least 4 millibars. So that's pretty big. And yeah, clouds really started disappearing around a little after December 26th, 0 Zulu. This is the barometric pressure for China Lake, California. Picked this location out of curiosity because China Lake is a Navy test range. And yeah, you have the same old patterns going up. And it goes down, bottoms out at December 25th, 22 Zulu, and after December 26th, 0 Zulu goes way up by at least 8 millibars. That's huge. And that's within a couple of hours, less than 12 hours. It's too much of a coincidence to keep seeing this over and over and over again. Pretty much the same phenomenon. Again, I want to thank HAARP Report for the idea of the barometric pressure graphs. Okay, these are the relative humidity maps for December 26th, 0 Zulu, course of 12 hours for each set of maps for a certain level. What we see here is, well, there's some humidity over the Sierras and Southern California. Not a whole lot of humidity over Southern California though. In fact, over my area it's pretty dry. Humidity less than 10%. And all along the west coast and in the Pacific there's a whole lot of dry air at this level. Not much moisture. 6 hours later, you notice that the area in Southern California is becoming even more dry. Some drying over here I believe as well. Yep, that's when things started drying out very rapidly. Right here there's a little bit of moisture down to the south, but it's not that much. 6 hours later, December 26th, 12 Zulu, everything is getting very dry. There's not a whole lot of moisture left. Okay, 500 millibars, December 26th, 0 Zulu. There's quite a bit of moisture over Sierras and along the west coast. It's pretty dry. There's like a ring of dryness around here. 6 hours later, seems to be some drying, some rather rapid drying actually. It's all around here. Another 6 hours. Holy crap, where did all the humidity go in Southern California? It's an extreme dryness in this area. Less than 10% humidity. Okay, this is 300 millibars. There's a whole lot of dry air in the west. A little bit of moisture up here, but I'm sure there's a lot of aerosols with it. 6 hours later, humidity seems to be increasing over the area, which is opposite to the other layers. And in this flow coming off of this low pressure, get a lot of aerosols, of course. Okay, another 6 hours, more humidity starts filling in. There's a lot of aerosols in here. Okay, this is the 500 millibar vertical velocity. This is December 26th, 0 Zulu. There's not a whole lot of activity in my area yet, but 6 hours later, there is more descending air appearing, and then right next to the descending air is a little bit of rising air. Yeah, the descending air is actually a bit strong. It's kind of interesting. I wish that I could see more over towards the desert area, but they have a big giant 1-0 over it. That kind of sucks, but you get the picture. More descending air is appearing. Another 6 hours. Quite a bit of descending air that actually appears over the desert area. And right next to it is rising air. That's very interesting. Rising air next to descending air. And the rising air is mainly near the coastal area. Okay, let's start at December 25th, 0 Zulu. There's not a whole lot of strange activity over California yet. These lines are actually pretty straight, but in another 6 hours, that stuff starts bending. This looks like high pressure right up the valley area. There's actually a big giant high pressure marked out in the Pacific, 1,030 millibars. Good for them for marking it. Another 6 hours. Now you start seeing these little spikes appearing over central and southern California. These mainly look like little high pressure ridges. Over here is low pressure. It's pretty mixed up. Okay, December 25th, 18 Zulu. Very funny thing over here. It's like high pressure and low pressure. It's all in the southern half of the state. Little loop thing here. Over here you start seeing more wiggles. Both high and low pressure. I'm telling you, it's a confused mess. Okay, 6 hours later after that, December 26th, 0 Zulu. This is pretty much when they started doing their assault over the deserts here. It's high pressure right here, low pressure here, high pressure here, low pressure here, high pressure here. Yeah, you get the thing. Very confused. Here's another 6 hours. These things are bending even more. High pressure is indicated here, and yeah, those clouds are disappearing definitely. This high is moving off towards the east as well. Okay, another 6 hours. See these tight isobars? That indicate some wind. By December 26, 18 Zulu, the wind event is in full effect. We have some pretty tight isobars, and yeah, both high and low pressures around, and very interesting how they get these things working. Okay, this is the 500 millibar. We're going to start at December 25th, 0 Zulu. Okay, we have these aerosols down here. A little waviness up here, but nothing too odd. Okay, another 12 hours. This is 18,000 feet, by the way. Anyways, there's not too much weird activity around here. This indicates low pressure. Another 12 hours. December 26th, 0 Zulu. There's not those weird spikes like you're seeing in the sea surface pressure analysis. Still indicates low pressure in this area. The isobars are starting to tighten up a little bit, and the winds are going to start changing direction. Right here, that's a west wind. We have a northeasterly flow, and yeah, the wind definitely changed direction around this time. You can see that by these little things down here. Have like a north wind near the coast, northeast. Another 12 hours. There was a round 2 of the wind. It wasn't as strong though. And over here, suddenly we have this other low pressure starting to form, and yeah, that'll bring the nasty weather to the Texas area. El Paso actually got some snow around this time, which is very bizarre considering the moisture's coming out of Mexico. Okay, high pressure here is located, low pressure here. Yeah, that caused the round two of the winds. Okay, let's look at the 300 millibar jet stream analysis. This is 30,000 feet. Okay, let's start at December 25th. 0 Zulu. There's a massive amount of high pressure located here, and then it's going down here. Nothing too unusual with the ISO bars. Of course, this jet stream is all distorted by their operations, but there's not a whole lot of wiggliness around. 12 hours later, nothing too weird. Just a massive area of high pressure. Little notch here. Another 12 hours, the wind is gonna start changing direction soon. But yet, there's not a whole lot of wiggliness and pressure. Another 12 hours, this moisture field coming out of the Pacific is starting to curl up into the low pressure, and that's going to bring El Paso some snow. Okay, the wind has pretty much changed direction at this time, but yet you're not seeing the activity like saw on the sea surface analysis. Okay, another 12 hours, this low pressure starts forming up really good. Going to bring more severe weather. Still not a whole lot of stuff, and this high pressure right here is continuing to move off to the east. I know this is getting long, but bear with me. Okay, this is December 26th, 20 to 23:30 Zulu, and right here we have low pressure forming out of this moisture coming out of the south. And right over here we have a general flow that's looking a little bit interesting. Some of that waviness could be from the mountains, but yet I see some dry air being pressed down over here. And over towards the Pacific, there's some dry air right here, nothing too unusual. But look at this mess over near the Gulf of Alaska area. It's not looking so nice. Everything's all broken up. And there are some aerosols being laid into this front. There's actually a satellite image coming up that shows pretty clearly some lines being laid into here. It's one of their screw-ups. There's another system that's trying to form over just west of that, but nothing too much going for it. There's rather weak rotation and there's aerosols being laid. Down here, ton of dry air in the Baja area, and that's no good. Feel sorry for those people. Okay, we have this persistent low pressure right here. This thing was near Hawaii a few days ago, but it's moved. It's still trying, but this thing will just disintegrate within a couple of frames. And yet, towards the west side, it's still very, very dry. There's some moisture right here that's actually starting to pop up. That's going to go into Southern California, but unfortunately, though, they're going to give a shot of aerosols into it, and that's going to help ruin the rainfall potential. Okay, this is the shortwave, same time, and this is what I wanted to show you. Looks like someone did a crappy Photoshop here. You can clearly see these lines coming out of nowhere, being laid all throughout this flow. Again, aerosols do suppress moisture. Off the coast of Southern California, there's a lot of openness, and where the clouds begin, I see a ton of spraying all around here. And look at that. That's nasty. Let's go and stop that. There's many lines in here, going in many different directions. I always see them spraying around the high pressure area. These things are normally photoshopped out of the regular maps. They don't want you to see the magnitude of all the spraying taking place in the Pacific. Here's just an idea. Okay, this is visible, and yeah, again you see the clear area over California. High pressure is pretty much locked in. There's some dust that's actually showing up from all the wind that's being created. That wind was very strong, I'm telling you. Let me slow this down. Okay, and not a whole lot of stuff to see here, just a bunch of typical disorganization and stuff trying to develop, but it's being blocked. And hey, there's even a little bit of the spring visible in this view. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, you see those little cross things. I'm telling you though, they're photoshopping a lot of this stuff out. Okay, let's stop that. Yeah, there we go. Hey, there's even this little low pressure thing trying to take shape. Yeah, all the spray's going into this low pressure. This thing's gonna die really soon. See the little clockwise right here? Yeah, they're definitely working on this thing, destroying it. Okay, this is December 27th, 7 to 10:30 Zulu, and well, more moisture's starting to appear over here, but going to be aerosolized to death. No precipitation fell today. The winds have pretty much subsided by now. Yeah, this system right here that's trying to come in is now looking even worse off. See the clockwise and counterclockwise rotation in this thing, and there's a lot of aerosol spraying. They really don't want it to rain too much in the west at the moment. Anyways, just look at this disaster. From the front being tampered with to the core. There's a slight chance of rain later today, but don't think it's going to rain though. Only 20% because of this crap being laid down and this thing being pretty much smashed. They always think of some way to screw with us. Over here in Texas, this low pressure is bringing a ton of severe weather out to the Midwest Texas area. Look at that convection. Rest in peace to the people that died because of this. And out to the west, this low pressure is pretty much gone. There's another low pressure trying to form, but don't see it doing too much. Up near the Aleutian Islands, there's a lot of aerosols being laid, and that's going to just prevent a huge thing from forming up. They don't want a huge low pressure to form, bring the west coast to a massive amount of rainfall. Okay, this is December 27th, 1930 to 23rd Zulu, and over California, a lot of junk being laid. There's no precipitation at all in my area. Looks like stuff is being photoshopped out. You know, it should be a federal crime to tamper with these satellite maps, but I do see some stuff happening that's no good. Anyways, yeah, this thing could have brought us at least an inch of rain right here. And that's just another way of how they're screwing with us. Again, there's more dry air being pressed down over here. This low pressure is pretty much gone now. It's moving off to the east and losing its shape. And this low pressure over here is continuing to deliver some nasty weather. Very rapid, violent rotation. There's a lot of aerosols being laid out in the Pacific now. That's no good. That's just going to keep the jet stream flat and prevent a big system from forming out here. As I said, they don't want big things to form, bring the west coast to soaking. Okay, this is visible, not too much else to show. I'm just going to show the aerosols over California in this view. Yeah, all these things are aerosols. Not a whole lot of natural cloud cover in here. And right here there's kind of an odd semicircular shape thing just sticking around in the same area. That is an indication of some man-made high pressure. I mean, you see these things going disappearing, and so I wouldn't doubt that they're pressing down on some dry air right over the region to prevent more precipitation. They really don't want it to rain in our area. Wait, there's actually a second weird area just a little bit northwest of this one. Very interesting. Yeah, there definitely is some operation here to keep rainfall at bay. They don't want all this weather to come in because that would ruin their drought plan.
There's even little scaliness between the two concentric rings.
Okay, this is 850 millibar. Relative humidity map. This is 5,000 feet, December 28th, 0 Zulu. And yeah, off of our coast, there's quite a bit of dry air. In between these two weird areas, there's a little bit of moisture, but it isn't much. It seems very, very dry around. Yeah, I know aerosols do dry up precipitation chances, so I'm not gonna leave that out of the equation. This is 700 millibars, 10,000 feet, same time. Yeah, huge amount of dry air over southern part of the state and off the coast as well. There's kind of some semicircular stuff around here. That's pretty much in the area where there's these weird boundaries showing up. Up in Northern California, there's a bit of rainfall, but it isn't too much. Okay, 500 millibars, 18,000 feet. There's a dry air tongue sticking into Southern California right here, and off to the west a bit, there's a lot more dry air. This storm system right here that's trying to come in is being heavily suppressed. Just by seeing all the dry air, I know they're up to something. Okay, 300 millibars, 30,000 feet. It's quite a bit of moisture in the interior west, but as you head more towards the coast, the humidity at this level decreases. Okay, let's look at the sea surface pressure analysis. We're almost done here. Okay, you can see that there's what appears to be high pressure out near Southern California coast and up towards the north as well. Over here looks a little bit mixed. It's kind of interesting. This whole surface thing is confused around our state. 500 millibars, 18,000 feet. You don't see all those weird anomalies. It's pretty smooth going into California. Okay, 300 millibar, 30,000 feet. Looks even more straight. There's nothing too weird here. Just high pressure indicated over the Pacific. And that's for all the maps. Mother Nature wants low pressure over here, but she's being prevented. Okay, this is a fairly recent map. There's water vapor, December 28th, 4:30 to 8 Zulu, and no rain came into our area. There's some stuff trying to go and develop, but seems like it's being suppressed. And this thing right here off of our coast, it could have brought us some more rainfall, but they are spraying into it right as I'm speaking, so I'm not going to count on that. And also what makes me doubt precipitation will happen later today is the increasing amount of dry air to the northwest. I mean, look at that, just appear out of nowhere. And look at all these aerosols being sprayed into this flow. That's insane. Air quality, hazardous. Okay, over Oregon, I see what appears to be sudden clockwise rotation and diminishing of clouds towards this low pressure. Just appears also suddenly. That's shutting down the rainfall, and that's going to help keep the dryness. Northwest needs the rainfall. Otherwise, during the summer, a lot of forest fires will happen. I think these genocidal freaks do want these forests to burn. God, who knows what's in their sick heads. And it's very sad. There seems to be another low pressure off to the west that's trying to form up again, but don't see it doing too much. It's clockwork. They always tend to suppress and destroy these things before they are able to do something. Okay, this is the same time invisible, and there's not too much else to show, really. Clockwise rotation right here, bunch of aerosols right here, and down towards Southern California, some aerosols being laid right into this front that's trying to go and bring us some rainfall. Going to create that capping inversion and suck up the moisture so it doesn't do too much. Even if it does rain, it'll be less than like a tenth of an inch or 5/100ths of an inch. Very, very minor. Okay, towards the south, off of Baja, there seems to be some faint spraying showing up, like right here. I'm pretty sure a lot of this mass is being sprayed into. Okay, let's have a good look at this guy spraying in this plume of clouds. And over here is just the same stuff. Systems being suppressed. A lot of openings around and clockwise rotation. Regular clockwork, I'm telling you. Oh, there's even little lines showing up here. Isn't that neat? And finally, this is the NASA worldview. We're going to be looking at December 26th and December 27th. I'm going to show you some proof that there was a lot of wind out in my area. See all this dust? Yeah, that's coming right off the land. And it's especially heavy as you head more towards the east and towards the Gulf of California, Sea of Cortez. Looks to be a massive sandstorm. Must have been at least 60, 70, 80 mile per hour winds throughout this area. Horrible. And over here to the southwest, see these little spray things. They don't show a lot of detail, but it's definitely there. You see the little lines and everything. Very straight little line thing in this front extending way up into British Columbia. It's very, very straight. Wow, that looks very weird. Looks like little icicles or something. They're especially apparent over towards the northwest coast. A lot of funny activity going on in the Pacific as usual. A lot of storm suppression, so of course you're going to see all these little lines and everything in here. This low pressure right up here looks horribly disfigured. And right here we have some typical lines, this dirty looking stuff. This brilliant white stuff is normal clouds. They're trying to keep this thing at bay. Okay, let's look at the 27th now. There was both a combination of aerosols and natural clouds over the area today. And yeah, that's a pretty nasty mixture. All these lines and the wispiness. That's a dead giveaway there. A little scaliness towards the desert areas. Not a whole lot of good stuff happened on the 27th here. Just a bunch of aerosols and natural clouds, and yeah. This low pressure rate up to the north, it looks very compact, and yeah, I'm telling you, a lot of this stuff could have been rainfall, but yet they're messing with it. So we get very, very little. There's a lot of aerosols involved. Hey, towards the San Francisco area, they're very visible line. So yeah, all throughout this area, there's a ton of manipulation going on. Don't have a whole lot of stuff to say really. It's just very, very obvious what they're doing. Anyways, I think that's about it. Thank you for watching, and please share. We must continue to expose these criminal programs. Hopefully 2016 will be the year that all this crap comes to an end. Tired of this abuse.